Welcome back, listeners. You're back again to the Red Rabbit Hole. Thanks for joining us back down in the dark and the dank tunnels of the Red Rabbit Hole. And this week we are continuing on speaking with the wonderful Lorraine Mace about her book, Rockabye Baby, and how that links to the Madelaine McCann case. What we were just about to speak to before we stopped last time was to look at the new developments in this case. So as of June 3rd, 2020, a suspect has been identified in the Madelaine McCann case. That is Christian Bruckner. I think I'm saying that right, but I might be wrong. If you are German, please feel free to come on and correct me. And yes, to talk about that, we have Lorraine Mace with us again, best-selling author Lorraine. So Lorraine, what do you think of Christian Bruckner as a suspect for Madelaine McCann?
There's certainly, well, hello both of you. There's certainly a lot to look at there, isn't there? Because he was in the area at the time. He is a convicted sex offender. The problem is that a lot of information has been given, but very little substance. You know, we don't actually know enough detail as to why they think he is a person of interest. It's all been a bit shrouded, hasn't it?
It's very circumstantial, yet they are convinced that, that Madelaine McCann is dead. They seem to have suggestion of some evidence that she's dead and he has something to do with it, but actually there's no forensic evidence. There's nothing of, as you say, of substance being put forward.
Yeah, it's difficult. But also, I mean, no diddling around, listeners. We are straight down this rabbit hole. There was for a second part. Lisa just dove before I
I'm sorry. I was not sure what happened there.
well in there. So I'm Nicky, as you probably remember.
Oh, hello, Nicky.
I am here. But yeah, I mean, it was interesting. I mean, I remember when it all kind of came to light and they were searching his properties and they found all that evidence buried under a dead dog. I mean, what was all that about? Lorraine,
What?
have you got a theory on that?
I felt sorry for the dog.
Yeah, that he had to guard such horrors.
Yeah, no, look, I don't know. He certainly appears to be someone who could well have been involved. He's got the right background. I just wish that more came into the public domain. It seems almost as if they're saying, we think it's him. In fact, we're almost certain it was him. We know how do they know she's dead? That's coming across as quite positive, but without any evidence to back it up.
But they haven't actually charged him with anything to do with her.
No.
He's on trial for crimes. I don't want to get into too much kind of detail on what he's accused of because it's quite horrible. He's accused of stuff that is quite horrific. That he definitely should be a man behind bars by any stretch. But I don't know. I'm finding it quite difficult to kind of wrap my head around what's going on because they haven't really, without a body. It's really hard to make a case, and they're not even trying to make a case. So why is this all coming out? What do they have then? Because they say they do have evidence, but with it being an ongoing trial, I'm guessing they can't release that to the public.
But is the trial, is the disappearance of Madelaine McCann connected to what's going on in that trial? Is that why they can't bring forward whatever evidence it is that they believe they have to show that she's dead? It's almost like a contradiction. We know she's dead, but we're not charging him with it, and it's got nothing to do with this trial. Then why has it come out? What is it they're actually saying?
I mean, is this a case of the media wanting to jump on something, and it's just all got wrapped up together? Or is it a case of it's Germany, isn't it? It's the courts in Germany. Yeah. I mean, I don't know how the German courts work. I barely know how the UK ones do. But I can imagine that with them not charging anything to do with Madelaine McCann, but they're talking about it. I don't know whether perhaps it's just a way of them gaining some kind of exposure for the court case.
Well, if that is the case, then that is disgraceful. To actually use a missing child in that way to get publicity for their own court case, that's just terrible.
I would hope, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I would hope that they have a plan. They seem like they have a plan, but maybe it's a case of they just want him off the streets, so they're going to charge him with what they know they can, get him off the streets with, and then they're going to come back with the more vague. Because obviously, like I said, without a body, it's going to be really hard to convict someone of a crime of murder.
Well, he's already in for 7 years, isn't he? I think he's already been convicted of something and is going to spend the next 7 years behind bars. So they have time. Maybe they're just taking their time.
It's 7 years is not enough.
No. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely dreadful person. Absolutely dreadful.
If even a fraction is true, then he needs to spend the rest of his life in a 4x4.
The one thing I sort of come back to with this is the effect on the parent, Madelaine McCann's parents and her surviving siblings. You've got somebody in Germany who is saying, no, she's definitely dead. And we think he's connected, but we're not going to charge him with it. But we know he's definitely dead. But not giving any proof, any closure to the family. That seems wrong.
Maybe no public, because we don't know what they've been told in private that they just can't release
Well, that's
as of
possible.
yet.
Yes, I
'Cause
hope.
we're not in the inner circle and shouldn't be, quite frankly, in the inner circle. It's nothing to do with anyone but the family and the courts at this point. But and it's awful to think about, but the majority of the evidence they found was under that dead dog, was video evidence. So if there's video evidence of him doing things to anyone, let's say, of any particular age, then they do have evidence, but it's not, like I said, it's not a body, it's not a witness saying something's happened. It's video evidence which could be thrown out of court, which could be argued against. There's many different things that could go wrong with video evidence, but it's still evidence.
Yeah.
And they have, don't they? Hasn't they got some phone records, or they call it the ping, don't they? That his phone pinged in the area near the apartment. Again, it's circumstantial, but it is some suggestion that he was at least in the area. And I think they've also brought up the fact that he had a van that then was registered to someone else the very next day.
A borrowed VW camper van was in the region at the time of Madeleine's disappearance. And he has been, oh God, I'm trying to think when it was now. I think could be 2020. He was made, I'm going to say this wrong, a Guido.
Yes.
Guido.
Is it, whatever the word is, where they can actually, the Portuguese authorities can have him extradited to stand trial. So they obviously think of him as a person of a possible suspect.
Maybe that's the plan. Maybe that's the plan, that if they can get him convicted in Germany of these other cases, then the Portuguese can have him extradited and he'll get a worse sentence or an added on sentence or something else that they can really, or they've made some kind of deal with them. I mean, it's again, it's all conjecture and it's all up for debate as to what's going on, because we're probably never going to find out until, or maybe never find out at all, but until things start to play out. But I have watched a lot of documentaries about this man, time and that I can't get back, quite frankly, and images that I don't want to ever have to see again. But I'm sure there was some sort of DNA evidence found at the apartments that came from him. Whether that's true or not, or whether I just imagined it, I don't know. But DNA comes up quite a lot in this case. Lorraine, you mentioned something about DNA in the Portuguese police.
Yes, apparently hair and fibres were sent to the UK for analysis, which was then sent back to Portugal. And apparently it was misinterpreted, which made it appear I have to be careful what I say now, made it appear that it might not have been an abduction.
So you can't guarantee anything with DNA, can you? And it's all up for interpretation, like just about every part of evidence is. Everything's a little bit subjective in that
Yeah,
term.
this was actually misinterpreted, let's put it that way. Yeah, and after that, the nature of the investigation underwent a change.
Lisa, in terms of stranger abductions, because I mean, obviously he didn't know the McCanns. If it was him, I mean, we can't guarantee it. We can't say, oh yeah, it was or anything, because we're not privy to any evidence. But in terms of stranger abductions, what are the statistics for that?
Well, the chances of being abducted in the way that Madeleine McCann was, or suppose he was, is incredibly small. So it's very unlikely that a child would be taken. But Lorraine might disagree with me here, because I remember the research that you've done for your book, actually. But from what
Yes,
I've found was in 22-23, the figures are released in July 23, so there'll be new figures coming quite soon, I should think. But there was 1,122 child abductions, and this has almost doubled year on year since
Oh,
2012-13. Yes, or no, the figure has doubled since the figure in 2012-13. So it is going up, but I think when you start to delve into those statistics a little bit, you'll find that actually the chances of it being a stranger are quite low. It's often people known to the child, or there will be some sort of relationship prior. So and that may be a kind of grooming relationship, not
yes,
not yeah, not
sadly.
yes, not a positive relationship or anything like that, but it's normally someone's child. The likelihood of somebody actually just coming in off the streets and taking a child is quite low. But and that does have a lot of impact in terms of publicly how people, in fact, actually, no, I'm going to go back to Lorraine and ask you to tell us a bit more about what you found in when you were looking at abduction, researching your book.
It was it was quite sad in that a lot of children who are abducted, and you're quite right, in many cases it is grooming, but those who are abducted to be taken off outside the country, let's say, to be passed around, are very often children who people don't care about. They don't care if the child goes missing. And again, there are predators, as we know, who are looking for kids in children's homes or kids who are not looked after very well, who are desperate for any kind of affection. For example, in Bradford, what happened there, they took vulnerable young people by force, by fear, by use of drugs and alcohol, actually turned them into sex slaves. It happens more than you would think.
I was going to say there's a lot of stories that you can, like missing persons, especially in America in the kind of 80s and 90s, where that kind of happened, where you've got young boys and girls that have been abducted or groomed or taken away, or the kind of classic "I have a job for you,"
Yeah,
or come here for modeling, or whatever. Yeah, they've just been kind of sucked into this horrible kind of supply and demand.
exactly. And that's what it is. It is, well, it's more demand. Let's go and find the supply. And children's homes, not all children's homes, but there are children's homes where the people running the home really shouldn't be allowed anywhere near children. When those children go missing, it's a case of, oh, well, they're forever running away. They don't like being here.
Yeah.
When that might not actually be the case. They may have been passed along.
And those kind of insidious individuals, they manage to creep their way into just about every facet, government and children's lives, and kind of, and teaching and all the sort of professions, scouts. You hear all the horror stories.
Do you remember the case? Oh, it was, just trying to think now, about 2010, I think. I could have got the date wrong. The guy's name was Huntley, Ian Huntley, and he was the carer at a school. When those two girls went missing, he was part of the search program.
Yeah.
He was there looking for those girls that he'd actually murdered.
That happens a lot. That you've got a lot of suspects, well, people that have committed crimes that will insinuate themselves into the investigation deliberately so they know where they
Yeah,
stand.
horrible.
And it's interesting how these cases that we know about are the ones that really make the news, and then how that impacts on how parents will look after their children or think about risk around their children. So there's a really interesting study from 2015 where they looked at like home range of children. So home range being the amount of kind of distance from their home that they can explore independently of their
Right.
parents and their allowance. And what they looked at in this study was 3 generations in a family. So it looked at the grandparents, the parents, and the current children as to what their home range was. And they found that, sort of very, very broadly, not going into the details of it, but they found that that home range has decreased. So grandparents would go really far, that the parents went a bit less, and now that the current children often are getting driven to places to go to a play space. So they might go to a space a bit further away, but they're actually taken there by their parents. And there was even one where, the mother will drive her child to somewhere that she used to walk to as a child herself, but she will drive her there.
I can believe it.
Yeah, well, one of the physical things that they really think about is the traffic. The increase in traffic. They even mapped on the maps, so they looked at it. They mapped out the roads where a bigger road has now sort of come along, and obviously the amount of traffic's gone up. But a lot of it is sort of the parental anxieties based on their own kind of social and cultural values. And I think there's a lot of stuff on social media that we can kind of blame a bit for that. Because if you go into any comment section about the disappearance of Madelaine McCann, you will find somebody mentioning red shoes. Have either of you heard about the red
Yes,
shoes conspiracy? You've heard of it, have you, Lorraine?
I have. There's a thing about a sock as well that was found somewhere. That also pops up from time to time.
Oh, I've not heard about the sock. The red shoes are
Why is there an accessory?
yeah. It's all about the accessories you wear. Don't wear red shoes, frankly, Nikki, because you will
I
be
love red
pulled in to be
shoes.
into this. Well, the red shoes theory is that there's a satanic cult
Oh
of
no.
rich people, rich paedophiles, and celebrities who abduct children for exploitation, trafficking, sexual abuse, murder, and sometimes cannibalism.
Oh, I haven't heard that one.
And members, yes, members who this is coming from the comment section of various things. This is like a coming from Reddit somewhat, but they suggest that because they have been seen wearing red shoes, that Pope Francis, Tom Hanks, and Queen Elizabeth II are members of the red shoe
Oh,
cult.
really?
And yes, and there's a picture. There's a picture of a bunch of guys at some sort of event, all wearing red shoes. I think there was this event. There was something about they had to wear red shoes, and there is a suggestion. Somebody said, "Oh, it looks like Jerry McCann in the picture," and that's how it gets linked. It's not Jerry McCann in the picture. It's been proven many times to not be Jerry McCann in the picture. But that's where they sort of get into this idea. But those sort of conspiracy theorists are online in comment sections. So when something is spotted, or so that there's a mysterious looking van driving round, or they're hanging around the school or whatever, these people are in the comment section kind of fueling that fire and making parents more worried about, oh, I can't allow my child out, or the risks of this happening to my child are really high, when they're really low. And it's exactly what you said, Lorraine. It's not those children who are at risk. It's their risk is incredibly low. The children who are at risk are the children whose parents aren't looking out for them, who aren't, the children who are vulnerable through circumstance that has nothing to do with what they've
It's
done.
exactly the case. The children who are at risk are the children already at risk. We're talking about kids who are either in homes or foster homes that are not good, and I'm not saying that all foster homes or children's homes aren't good. There are lots of brilliant foster parents and brilliant children's homes. Unfortunately, these places can attract the wrong type of person. And once you have the wrong type of person in a position of authority, what happens is the at-risk children become even more vulnerable because nobody is looking out for them.
And they want to belong. That's kind of how the county lines gangs operate a little bit. They look for children who for whatever reason, struggle to have a sense of belonging somewhere, and they offer them that belonging, and that's how they pull them in. And they will be looking in those particular areas they know those vulnerable children are the targets.
Just sort of backtracking there to the satanic panic. I'm still
Yes.
trying to compute this all because do you know what? I know lots of people who wear red shoes. I wear red shoes on a regular basis.
You're part of it, are you?
That's it.
Okay.
I always had you down as a Satanist.
Some people just have way too much time on their hands, and you just think,
Absolutely.
why are you doing this? That. Oh, I mean, if you're going to be spending time on this, do something useful. Actually look into something or give money to a charity.
Well, if you'd like to know what my suggestion of how to protect your children, I think the greatest thing that you can do to protect your children is teach them to be critical. Give them the ability to critique the things that they see. Because I think the parents who view this stuff online in the comments section, sending them in this direction, they need to critique that. They need to think about where that's come from. They need to apply a level of kind of helicopter thinking, where you fly above and you sort of look at it rather than getting drawn into it. But I think the greatest risk is, like you were saying, Lorraine, about being groomed, and a lot of that stuff is online. It doesn't matter if we don't let our children free range far from home. The danger is there on the phone, on the computer as well, and you need to be able to have that moment to go, hang on, this isn't right.
And you can't be with them 24/7 because that's almost abuse in
No.
itself, because then they have no free time. They've got no time on their own. They've got no independence.
There's lots of benefits to having that independence and that autonomy.
It harkens back to, so Lorraine, me and Lisa discussed a book called The Gift of Fear by Gavin De Becker. If you haven't
Okay, I don't know it, but
write that down because I think you'll find it fascinating. I think it should be taught at schools. I really do, because it's all about listening to your gut and the techniques that predators will use to trap you.
oh, wonderful. The Gift of Fear.
Gift of Fear. I used it as part of my research for The Brother when I wrote The Brother, and it was invaluable. And I just wish I'd read it sooner, personally, because it was, again, I just highly recommend it to everybody to get hold of a copy, because it's one of those books that could save your life. No joking apart or anything.
And it is that second thought, isn't it? That's why I really champion teaching children to be critical, to look twice at something, to not just accept, because there's and that's on many levels of the internet as well, isn't it? All the photographs that always look absolutely perfect. Everyone looks perfect. That's everybody's got this perfect body, this perfect tan, this perfect life, and actually it's all doctored. None of it's real.
And very often, a lot of those people showing these perfect lives are really desperately unhappy. That's why they have to portray this image of themselves as the person that they would like to be, that they'd like to be seen as. But if you think about it, there's a need to doctor your pictures is actually saying, I don't like the way I look. I don't like me. I mean, we've all got pictures that we look at and we think, oh, that's going in the bin. But to actually take
everywhere. I mean,
but to take a perfectly reasonable picture and think, you've got to Photoshop it and you've got to use not lenses.
Well, yeah, the filter. Is it filters? That you can get. Well, you can get a filter on TikTok that just makes you look glamorous and beautiful.
Can you?
Like, I put it on and I went, oh my goodness, look at me. I like me. And people just have the filter. You don't have to put a makeup or anything to record a video. Just stick on a filter and you'll look great. And it kind of comes back to that, why the disappearance of Madelaine McCann is the most, I think, kind of most famous missing persons case that there is, because she was gorgeous. She was lovely.
She was.
Pictures of that. She was absolutely lovely, gorgeous, blonde, little girl. And she kind of, like you were saying in our first episode on this, Nick, about that kind of that vicious cycle of that's what the people want to see in the media, so that's what the media supply, and it does mean that we miss these other children
Yeah,
who are at really high risk.
absolutely.
We miss kind of perhaps putting more into the social enterprises and the youth clubs and the places that do protect and support these children and do offer them a sense of belonging. I mean, youth clubs have been absolutely decimated in this country. There's hardly any left, but they are the people that are, offering protection and support and a sense of belonging to these children who would really be at risk of exploitation.
It is so sad. It is really sad to think about how many vulnerable children there are.
Also, just to bring it back to the silly cults thing. I mean, if you were a satanic cult wanting to actually be hidden, I mean, you don't want to be out there in the public. You don't want a Facebook group, really, do you? You want to stay hidden. Then you are going to pick those vulnerable children. You're not going to pick a child that's going to get missed and that's going to get splattered
No,
all over the newspapers. And you're not going to do that unless you are ridiculous. And
Well, the theory goes, Nicky, you see, the
oh
theory
no,
goes
no,
you've
not
got
another one.
to sacrifice your firstborn to the club. So that's why they always cite and say, it's Jerry McCann in this picture, and he was sacrificing his firstborn
oh
to let
God.
him out of the club.
Absolutely
And it's not him
ridiculous.
in this picture. I'm just going to say that yet again. It absolutely is not him in this picture. And this is from the comment section. This is from the dark depths of the comment section.
Why do they come up with these ridiculous things? Why your firstborn? Why not you have to have three children and it's got to be the one in the middle? Why 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 make it so ridiculous that
Well, it's to fit the narrative, isn't it? It's probably to fit the narrative, isn't
I think it's a biblical thing, isn't it? Firstborns are some sort of biblical thing, and the firstborn is important because, especially if they're a male, they're the one that inherits everything. I think it's like an old-fashioned biblical thing that the firstborn.
well I think my I think my daughter would definitely have gone along with that. Yes, take the
Take the first,
take
take him.
David. Take
Yeah.
him. I'm the second child. Take the first
If you
one.
want to get into our satanic red shoes club, you want to wear those nice red heels you picked up the other day in Primark, you are going to have to give us.
Michelle would actually say, I'll buy the shoes for you. Just
Yeah,
take
but
him.
and again, wouldn't you pick something that's a little less kind of everybody's wearing it? So you feel a little bit more
Yeah, yeah.
special because
Yeah.
I've got red shoes, everybody's got red shoes. So how about it's like polka dots with mustard and putrid green or
On the
something,
other hand, if it's a secret cult, why are you wearing
Yeah.
anything that
Yeah.
identifies you? Does that not sort of go against the whole I'm in a secret cult?
Oh, someone needs to make that T-shirt. I'm in a secret cult. It's like I'm in witness protection.
Yes. Well, no, but the QAnon. So the QAnon facet of this, I was reading an article.
Oh, for goodness
So it's
sake.
kind of
Oh.
linked a bit to QAnon, but the people who were at the rallies for Trump, where they they had children. I'm not for sale. I'm not for taking. I think they put their children in onesies saying I'm not for sale. All right, that is how you protect your children, folks. No, forget teaching them to be critical or giving them independent thought. I think absolutely just put them in onesies that say, don't take me, I'm not for sale. That'd be fine.
That will do it.
Yeah, I don't know. That feels like the start of a negotiation to me. I'm not for sale. Well, everything's for sale. Let's talk about it. Because if you're not for sale, you don't need to say it.
But I mean, I kind of have a theory that why people get so obsessed with these ridiculous theories and conspiracies, and when we look at them, they are utterly ridiculous, is because we don't want to look at the reality. We don't want to look that it's closer to home to us and that we can do something about it. Like you say, Nick, if you've got the time to be looking into all of this, why don't you go and volunteer at your local youth club, or be part of a board of governors that are looking at the quality of care that children are receiving when they're in foster and care homes.
There's a charity called Missing People that that they need volunteers to scour social media. So you can do it at home. You can try and find missing people on social media and help out and actually bring peace to some families rather than just create chaos and pain.
They want to be in the comment section, and it is a way. I think it's a way of ignoring the real truth that you spoke about, Lorraine, when you were researching this book, the real truth of actually how many children do go missing, and they're not, unfortunately, they're not the Madelaine McCanns of this world that everybody's looking, and the case is still rolling and everybody's talking about it. They're the unspoken about children.
It's the ones that go missing and nobody seems to care.
Well, I would say, listeners, if you know of a case where a child's gone missing and there's been no media, there's been no outcry about it, pop the link. Pop the link in our description, because I'd love to have a look at cases that, that haven't really made it into the media. I'd love to see if there's anything, at least we can perhaps, promote it, I guess, sort of get it out there into the public eye ourselves and do some good. Would you be up for that, Lisa? Yeah.
Yes. Safeguarding is everybody's business, isn't it?
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We do all have a responsibility to safeguard children and young people.
It reminds me of, I don't know whether you guys saw it, but a couple of years ago, there was like a YouTube video of a man that was literally abducting a child in front of these two schoolgirls. They were teenage schoolgirls, and they recorded the whole thing, and they were running after them. And it was clear that this kid did not belong to this man. The kid was kind of trying to pull back and was crying. And these two teenage girls actually took it upon themselves to run after them, filming the whole time, going, "That's not your daughter. Let her go. Do this, do that." And eventually he did let her go, and that wasn't his daughter.
So they saved that child's life.
They saved that child's life, yeah.
Because he wouldn't have been taking her for a good reason.
No, I suppose the nicest reason would be a forced adoption at the very kind of top end of the scale there. So it was just kind of, I suppose, hapstance that they were there, that they had their mobiles, as most teenagers have their mobiles on them. They're welded to their hands. And they actually use that power for good, and all, they're only little girls themselves, so that they put themselves in danger just to save that child. And I think that's the kind of thing to be applauded, that we all should be looking out and not ignoring something if we see something that's out of place.
Yes,
Yeah,
they had the mind to be critical and to go, hang on, that's not right. Yeah,
it's not right, and to speak out, because you can say in your head that's not right, but then you could go, but it's not my problem. So it's the dual kind of, that's not right, and I'm going to do something about it.
That little girl was very lucky, very, very lucky that they were there.
Quite harrowing to watch as well. But again, as Lorraine knows, as part of our kind of job, thriller authors, we have to subject ourselves to these things and filter out for stories to entertain the masses. That's part of our rabbit hole jobs.
It is. The Rockabye Baby book is the one book where I was doing research and cried. Actually sat at the computer and cried. But, it's real life. It's life that we don't know about normally. But, as you say, when you go down a rabbit hole, you're not always going to find nice stuff at the bottom of it. Unlike you two ladies, who are lovely.
Yeah. You say that now just because I've got the key and you want me to let you out, don't you now?
Oh, please.
That's it, Lorraine. You've said, I've finished my crust of bread and I'd like to go home now, thanks.
Please, can I go home?
Well, on that note, we have reached the end of another trip down the rabbit hole, folks. Thanks so much for joining us. Lorraine, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you as our prisoner for 4 episodes now.
I suspect Lorraine's got Stockholm syndrome.
I have. I like you ladies. I do. Can I go now?
Well, tell us about another book and we'll keep you here. Well, we will. Here, I've unlocked. I'll let you go, Lorraine. But thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, listeners, for joining us. Don't forget to please follow us on all the socials. We are on Instagram. We are on Facebook. We are on TikTok at the Red Rabbit Hole Podcast. You can also follow us on Patreon to get early release to episodes and a few other hidden extras on there. You can find us to just listen generally at wherever you get your podcasts. And if you find somewhere you can't find us, let us know and we'll make sure we get the Red Rabbit Hole access there for you. Have I missed anything,
I would just
Nicky?
add to make sure that you have a look at Lorraine Mace's books. Check out Amazon. She obviously does a lot of rabbit hole research diving, so I think they're well worth checking out. I really enjoyed talking to her and reading her books, and I would suggest they're everywhere, aren't they, Lorraine?
They are. They're all over the place.
everywhere you want them to be.
Everywhere. They're in all bookshops and also the public library.
Excellent. And don't forget your libraries. Whenever you check out a book, we do benefit as authors, because you are reading our work. And that's what we want at the end of the day. We want readers, we want to entertain you. So the more of you, the better.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Well, that's all from us for now. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time down the Red Rabbit Hole.
Bye-bye, listeners.
Bye.